Justice Smith, Jabari for three and the win. Yeah! He got it!
What's up, everyone? This is Lashar Binkley, and this is the Rockets Report. Of course, I am a contributor for SB Nation, lead staff writer for the Dream Shake, and a credential media member covering the Houston Rockets and the Rio Grande Valley Vipers. Usual, we appreciate everybody jumping on and joining the show today. I actually wasn't planning on doing a show today, but it's that time of year right before free agency when reports are coming out left and right. We have another report today dropping about a new face to the Rockets free agent possible list, because it seems like the Rockets are tied to every single free agent that's ever been available of all time. And again, today they are tied to another free agent, and that's Nikola Vucevic from Chicago, the former All-Star center. There was also some reports saying that the Rockets were looking to gauging trade interest for KJ Martin, Josh Christopher, and Uzma Garuba. These reports were coming from Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports. I want to start with Nikola Vucevic. The Rockets, of course, have the most cap space out of any team in free agency. As reportedly, they will have $60 million plus dollars in cap space coming up for this free agent period. So that pretty much means that every agent that's out there is going to use the Rockets as leverage, sort of like James Harden tried to do, and it didn't work out that well. But every team's going to use them as leverage because they do have so much cap space. They're trying to put the squeeze on other teams that maybe want to sign him, or maybe him trying to go back to, in this instance, Chicago, and they're probably trying to put that pressure on them to sign him. So the Rockets are going to be involved in all these trade, whether it's true or not. This particular report is kind of funny, considering that Coach Udoka actually spoke out and said that, hey, we're looking for something a little bit different than what we have in Alper and Şengün. So we're probably looking for, a different variety in what Şengün brings. Şengün, of course, brings you great post play, really good passer, really smart, knows how to run the offense. But the Rockets are looking for somebody can more of a vertical threat or somebody that can spread the court. Not necessarily to replace Şengün, but just another complement to Şengün. So the reports of Brook Lopez coming to Houston made more sense because that's what Brook Lopez is. He's not a vertical threat, but he can spread the floor, and he's great on defense. One of the best defensive bigs in the league, as I talked about in yesterday's video. Definitely go check that out. But today's report about Vucevic, Rockets possibly being interested in Vucevic because Brook Lopez, as we also heard today, is leaning towards signing back with the Bucks, which isn't exactly a huge surprise considering the Bucks are still a championship level team. The reports that bring on Vucevic doesn't make that much sense considering that Vucevic is a good player. He is a good post-up player, actually a good three-point shooter, especially for a center. But if you look at his other numbers, the things that the Rockets want in a center to go with Şengün, he's horrible on defense. He has probably he's had 113 plus defensive rating in the last two seasons. 21, 22. He was near the bottom. When I say near the bottom of defensive rating for centers, I mean there's only probably qualified 105 centers that played a game. He was at like number 90. I had to literally go down 2 or 3 pages to find his name. This past season, a little bit better, just a little bit under 113 defensive rating for the season, which isn't that much better. He still was around 50 or 60 amongst centers in defensive ratings. So if you're the Rockets, what kind of sense does it make to bring over a guy like Vucevic, who's a good player, but you're still at the point where you don't need to just be throwing money at any center just because they have a name? Bringing in Vucevic, he's basically an older version of Şengün, and Şengün has a lot more time to still improve overall. So why would you bring him in at a reportedly he's asking for 3 years, $65 million? That just doesn't make good sense to me when it comes to allocating out your cap space. So I just think this is a case of his agent putting out the feelers saying, hey, the Rockets are interested in him and y'all better hurry up because the Rockets have the cap space to sign him. I, outside of that, it just doesn't make much sense to bring in a Vucevic when you already have a similar player, Apochenko, who's making a lot less money and is also, 12 years younger than Vucevic. So that report doesn't make much sense. I just want to move on real quickly to the other report about them possibly looking to move Josh Christopher or KJ Martin or Uzma Garuba. I mean, it makes sense just because the Rockets have a log jam at especially the forward position. Of course, KJ Martin, his name's been popping up for years, so that's not a huge surprise. And especially now that they're bringing in another small forward, and Jason Tate, they still haven't moved on from him yet, so he could possibly get in playing time because he may be a type of player that coach likes to have on the court. So he may be eating into playing time. So you factor in all that, and maybe Kevin Porter Jr. moving small forward. It's not going to be a lot of minutes for KJ Martin, so that doesn't surprise me. Gauging trade interest for Uzma Garuba, I don't see anybody trading for Uzma Garuba. I mean, let's just be honest. He hasn't had enough time on the court for anybody to really have any real interest in him. Josh Christopher, same thing. Had flashes of great play, but again, just did not have enough time on the court. So I don't really see anything they'll be able to get for either one of those two players. I just think that's just more of a Rockets doing their due diligence to see what happens. Not necessarily that there's any real trade interest out for those two players. Most of the trade interest would definitely be with KJ Martin, from what he's shown in his brief time in the league, and the fact that he still has a manageable contract, even though he will be coming up for a new contract here pretty soon. So those are like the latest reports that's coming out about the Rockets. Of course, free agency starts end of this week on the 30th, and of course, we will be having a lot of their reports come out up until then and right after then. So we will definitely be covering all that here. But for now, that will do it for this episode of the Rockets Report, which is part of the Rockets Field podcast. And we'll check you later.